Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Kamu and welcome to another video. Yesterday I showed you the deck of Lifecoach SuperJJ. Today I will show you even more gameplay, this time 2 games against Skellige. Let's dive into the games and I hope you enjoy it. Again, we want to mulligan away the arachas and we want to mulligan away the nekkers, and this time we can draw 2 of the crones, and the question is if we want to mulligan the nekker away and risk of drawing the crones, and I think we probably should do that. So our opponent starts and we won the coin flip, which is pretty good. And he is playing the Savage Bears deck, which is, as I already said, not very good for us. Let's just play the succubus first, and let's see if he has another bear. If he doesn't have another bear, that's pretty good for us. Of course, we could decide to play the succubus for the Morkvak, but usually they just wait until they play Morkvak, because everybody knows that Monster Consume players most of the time right now play succubus, and in this case they just don't play the Morkvak unless we already played the succubus and we don't want the bear to get a lot of value. So what I think we should do is just play anything that's immune to the bear, and for example in this case it's the behemoth. Now we get the bear, which means that he has -6 stats, we have +6 stats, so it's 12 stats, but we gave him 6, so it's 6 stats, but I think this bear, it would have been much more damage, so I think it's worth it. Let's start the consume train, but in order to have something to consume, we want the harpy out, because we really want to consume these eggs. And obviously we want to play the eggs or the harpies before he can play another bear. That's what we did, and that was good. Let's start the train now. Obviously, as we can see, is that the Savage Bear is just insanely strong against the monster. And so probably it's even better to get the bear back on our side than the Morkvak. Keep in mind we also have Renew. We can also play later the succubus and get our own Morkvak. Yeah, I think we should continue with our train.
I promise you a quick death.
So obviously we want all the power from the behemoth that we can get, and so we really want to start to place another vran warrior. That's what we do, and we just hope that he doesn't have another bear. And as you can see, again, this bear is just insane. It's just insane. Keep in mind we also probably want to play the fiend onto the Morkvak, because then it doesn't revive. And he needs Secret Drifter to revive it. And there's a chance that he doesn't have it. Okay, so right now we have nothing to eat, so we don't play the katakan. We also don't play the Asus double cross because we could get another crown. But we are 20 stats behind, so I think we could play the fiend, or we could play the brewers, and since I think we don't want to eat the savage bear, I think the fiend is fine.
That is your brilliant move, truly.
So he definitely doesn't want to give up the round. Which is first and foremost very fine for us. We also don't want to give up the round. And I think it's very good to play the crowns. Obviously, what we can see is that we should have fiended the savage bear, in my opinion, because there is a chance that we get guilds or renew, and the chance is very high. And then the Mokak is actually in our favor, and the bear it just does too much damage to us. So I actually think we should really try to win this game. And the reason for that is I want to eat the Mokbak with the katakan. And I can only do that if I start the next round. And so I really want to win. And in order to win, we need the nekkers. And that's why I will summon one now. Okay, very good. So this should be enough, and we win the round and we start the next round, which we definitely want. So the best card now for us is really the katakan. So these cards are good. And as I said, I really want to play the katakan. And eat this one. It's pretty tasty. Yum yum yum. That's very good. If you place this, so what we can play is, and I think it's actually a very good play, is if we revive. Actually, okay, we cannot do it. What a shame. That's pretty sad. So I think that the only thing we could do now is just pass. I mean, we could have decided to play the leaderboard, play the Unseen Elder, but then we would have spawned another nekker, and he would get the nekker. So I'm not so sure. I'm not convinced that this would have been the best play. I think this hand is actually fine. Because this one is like 20 stats. This one is pretty good if you have the Unseen Elder left. Also, the higher vampire is also, of course, not bad. Or, I mean, the guilds. And with the renew we can play the succubus. And that's probably what we will do. Oh, we'll do it at the end of the round. So at the second last card. Let's just play this. Or let's just play the regis. Go eat the bear.
We serve her who is virgin, mother and crone.
So unfortunately we should have played the harpy first. So that was a mistake. But what can you do, right? Sometimes you do mistakes, but of course against Skellige we should keep the savage bear in mind and play the celeano harpy as soon as we can.
Bow before modern Freya.
I promise you a quick death.
Now we get the 14 stats and we win the game. Always say good game, and let's start the next game. So the next game I have for you is another game against Skellige, because right now Skellige is really dominant in the ladder and I think it's very good practice. Of course we want to get rid of the arachas, and of course we want to get rid of the nekker and hope that we don't draw another crone. So what we always have to assume at the moment is that our opponent plays the bears, right? 3 bears, and some play X-Men, some play something else, but usually X-Men are the scariest in my opinion, but there are other options out there. But definitely they all play the bear, and so the harpies are much worse against this type of deck. And this time we also don't have a behemoth, which is... I wish I had at least one to get the arachas out. But what can you do, right? So as we said in the last game, I think that succubus is really good if you play it to get a bear. And so that we will try to do. So now I play the succubus.
Such a shame, I must kill you.
And hope that he doesn't have another one. And also this time we have the fiend, as last time, but this time we will try to get it on a bear. So this is actually the Skellige type. It's a really scary type. In this case, the problem is that if we play Regis and we eat an X-Man, he has another X-Man to revive. That is definitely not something that we want. But we also could think about shackling it, and I think we probably should do that. So he plays a second one, and now we might have a chance of playing the Celeano Harpy, but the problem is that this type of deck usually plays Demilford's Tremor. That's a special card which deals damage to up to 8 minions, and if we play the Harpy, we actually would have 8 minions out there, and then this play would be pretty insane for him, and so we would try to avoid that. Let's just consume. Unfortunately, the Harpy is spawned in the front row, because usually this type of deck also plays Frost, or at least many people play Frost. Now let's... So the question is if we should play the Regis or the Celeano Harpy. I think we can play the Celeano Harpy and hope that he doesn't have Demilford's Tremor. Okay, so that's a card which we didn't want to see. Fortunately, he didn't hit the X, or only one, which is definitely in our interest, and we will try to get more consumes.
Our shields are our ramparts! Give them no rest, no reprieve! Now! All together!
So, against this type of deck, the worst thing that we could do is that we pass very early on in round 1, because the best case for him is that he has a round 3 that is extremely long. That's the best case for him, and we definitely want to deny him. So, if we lose round 1, we want to make it as long as possible, and that is actually what we do. We also could now try to eat something with the regis. And so what he would draw is a Savage Bear. Actually, they get shuffled in the deck, I suppose. And I think a very good card to eat is the Priestess of Freya, which is very low in points, that's true, but that denies him 1 Resurrect. And that's good for us. Definitely what we don't want to eat is, I mean, the problem was that we really don't want him to have the bear in his graveyard, because if he resurrects the bear, that's pretty sad. So what we can do is we can play the crowns now, or we can play the leader, and probably the crowns are the best option.
A word once given will never break.
He passes, we win the round, and that's definitely good for us. And if we think about the deck that he has, it's exponential. So he really wants to play very long rounds, and we definitely want to deny him that. So what we will try to do is we will get the Mokvak on our side, and then we will try to get everything going to get his cards onto the board in round 2 and to have a very strong board in round 3. And I think we can do that, or we do that by getting the Morkvak onto our side. The question is if we maybe should play the Katakan first. And I don't see why. So let's just play it like this. And let's just get out as many cards as we can from his side. We really want to go deep here.
That is your brilliant move, truly.
So if he puts it on Morkvak, actually that would be very good for him. I think that would be the better play, but now we get the bear. Well, I'm fine with that, actually. So usually I would say that if he has 3 cards in round 3, that should not be enough for him.
Have you nothing better
So
to
let's
do?
try to get one more out. Unless he might not come over us. Because if he doesn't come over instead, then obviously he has to play another card, and that would be pretty insane for us. But he comes over us. So he comes over on top, and question is now if we should play another card or not. And I think yes, I think we should actually play another card. Let's get this one and eat the big regis. We also could eat a bear, but that would be... he has another bear, so let's just go for max value. And of course we don't want to give him the biggest Igni in the world. So this is actually insane for us. That is actually... wow. That's pretty insane for us. So we pass and he has to play another card.
Calling me a coward?
And so now what he has left is probably something like a Freya. And that shouldn't be good enough. So we really don't want to draw a nekker, but anything else is... behemoth would be actually pretty fine. And question is if we have to gamble. I think we don't have to gamble. I think this is fine. Because if we draw nekker, that would be really bad. If we play this and then we play the leader, that should be always enough. So let's not just gamble.
Bow before modern Freya.
Yes, so that was Freya. And as you can see, an exponential deck is really weak when the turns are small. Because, I mean, the X-Men is only 4 stats. So, this is how you play against Skellige. I hope you enjoyed the 2 decks. I hope you enjoyed the two games and matches. And I hope you really learned something in how to play against the Skellige with this deck. And thanks for watching. If you liked it, leave a like, and if you want more content, subscribe, and have a nice day. So, bye!